Hello everyone, this is Thomas, and today I'm going to be opening up the inside of your computer, or as most of you know, the tower that runs your computer. So as you can see here, we already have it opened up for you, and you see a lot of wires and a lot of different pieces that can make it look a little confusing at first. However, it's actually not that confusing if you know what you're doing. So as you can see, first off, the main motherboard is right here, but you can also see a lot of wires running around. So let's try to explain what a lot of these wires do. Most of these wires run to this part right here, which is the power supply. This is where it draws power from your wall outlet and distributes it to the different points in the computer that need power. So this big cord right here that goes supplies the power to the motherboard. It is a 24-pin power adapter, and it will just feed in the power to the different parts of the motherboard. Right around here you can see another smaller 4-pin which provides power to the CPU. Then you come up here to this next big bunch of cords that provide power to the different peripherals and optical drives. So you can see right down here, this provides power to the hard drive that keeps all your data. Then next up through here is the CD drive. Now there can be multiple CD drives or floppy drives, for example, on older computers that will all require power, which is what these little adapters are for here. Then you come to these bigger cords right here, and they are what provides the data connection between, say, your optical drives, or in the blue wire case, the hard drive. So right here, this one connects to the CD drive, while the smaller white one hidden right behind it connects to the floppy drive. Then you have this blue wire here that connects into the hard drive. It is called a SATA cable, and it connects to this little connector down here. So now onto the motherboard, you can see the different parts. Right here are the PCI slots for additional cards such as network adapters, video cards, audio cards, all can go in here. These give you a little bit of customization on your computer. Right here, for example, is a older graphics card that will allow you to hook two monitors up to use two monitors at the same time to this computer, which by default most computers only allow you to use one at a time. Then you can see the RAM memory here, along with the CPU heatsink that disperses the heat from the CPU into this fan right here, where this folds down and allows the fan in the back here to blow cool air in and disperse it over that CPU sink to disperse the heat. There are also several different fans throughout the case, including one on the power supply. Here on the back are the different connections for the computer. For example, you have a DB9 connector used for servers in most cases that provide a data connection. Here is an older printer cable and a monitor cable. Down here are your PS2 keyboard and mouse, which have been replaced nowadays with USB, and there are 6 USB 2.0 slots, which if they were blue would be USB 3.0. Right here is the network adapter and your audio connections, including microphone and sound connections. Then here's that PCI card I was talking about, which uses a proprietary monitor connector, which the adapter is in another room right now, but it will have 2 of these connectors coming out of it to allow you to hook up 2 monitors. Now from the optical drives, you can see the cables provide a little bit of a mess, but right here is the back of an older floppy drive, which you can see the data connector right here and the power connector as well. So on to a more detailed look at the motherboard. You can see right here are the PCI. These are PCI 2.0s followed by PCI. Right here is for the X16 for the graphics cards. And onto here are different various connections, including some USB connections that go onto other cables. And back here are your general hookups again for your monitor, printer. But on the board here is these little connectors right here are the SATA connectors to plug in your hard drive. The blue one is the primary hard drive, then these allow you to plug multiple hard drives in. These are the slots for your RAM to go in. Right here you can see this can hold 4 different sticks of RAM, which is the memory for the computer. On down through here you can see this is where the CPU is. Right here is a CPU without a heatsink, and you can actually take this off. And you can see the CPU is just a little card like this, and this is the backside of a CPU. Now whenever you're building a computer, you never want to touch the actual back part of the CPU, as that will pretty much ruin the CPU. So as we go back down the motherboard, these are various connectors for the power supply, or the power on button, for example, uses a connector such as this, and various little fan connectors for case fans to keep your computer cool. Okay. And again, here is the power connector. The 20-pin power connector is right here, and the 4-pin CPU power connector is right here as well. Right around here you can see you have the hookups again, and this is where any PCI cards or video cards would go, and the hookups would stick out the backside of the case right here. So as you can see, the backside of the CPU, or motherboard for example, has a bunch of different connections, and this is how all the data communicates. It's these little channels right here that link everything together. You can see the RAM uses a lot of these little pins here, and the connectors, it's very hard to tell, but there are a lot of channels going into these connectors here that bring it back to the CPU, which is located right here and right here. So these holes right through here, for example, hold this motherboard down to the actual case. So you never usually see this on a normal computer. Whenever you open up a computer again, this is the front side of the computer that you see. And going on, these are little capacitors right here. This helps distribute the power, and right here is a little sound speaker. It's just used if you don't have any speakers hooked up. It can display BIOS error sounds that will usually make a little noise just to let you know something went wrong. But all these connectors right in through here are what distributes the power and bumps it up or bumps it down to whatever level of power each little piece of this needs. And as you can see right here, this is the built-in graphics chip onto the motherboard that provides the actual on-screen functions. And you can actually buy additional video cards that will go in this slot right here that are a lot more powerful than this little graphics card right here. And through here you can also see little jumpers, they're called. And right here I can remove a piece, and each of these little jumpers performs a little function. For example, this little jumper right here, say something was going wrong with your graphics card, you might be able to put this little pin right here, turn your PC on, and it would reset it for you. And as you go around, there are different little microchips that do different things that help process the data. Again, these little pins right here, for example, that are hooked up, these aren't microchips, these are actually fan connectors. And you can go around the board and see there are several of these. Right here's one, and right down here's another one. There's several different fan connectors, so you can add more fans to your case. Then right here's a little battery that's actually used to keep track of the system time. When it's fully charged, you can actually turn your computer off and unplug it, then come back a week later, plug it back in, and it will still hold your system time. The time on the clock in that bottom right hand corner, it will keep on going because this little battery keeps track of it for you. It will just pick up right where it left off when the computer powers on, and it uses the power from the wall to keep track of that time. But then when that power from the wall is not available, that's when it goes to the battery to help keep track. That way you don't have to reset the time every time. Okay, and that is the basic parts of your motherboard and the computer, of course. So as you can see, it looked very confusing at first, but it's really simple. Once you get learning, you know where each piece goes, where each pin can go, where each card can go, and you can actually build computers very easily and cheaper nowadays.